We'd been married for 15 years, a milestone I was quietly proud of. We had 2 kids, 10 and 12, a house with a white picket fence and a golden retriever named Gus. Everything looked perfect from the outside. Maybe that's why I was so blind to what was happening on the inside. It started subtly. Bronte began spending more time on her phone, always with a secretive smile on her face. She'd close her laptop when I walked into the room, claiming she was working on a confidential project. She started going to the gym more often, which I initially applauded, until I noticed she was buying new clothes that were a little too revealing for a simple workout. Dinners together became less frequent, replaced by late nights at the office or drinks with colleagues. I brushed it off. I trusted Bronte. We had built a life together, a family. The thought of her being unfaithful was absurd. I was probably just being paranoid, stressed from work. But the feeling lingered, a knot tightening in my stomach with each passing day. The first real red flag came in the form of a girls' trip. Bronte announced she was going to Miami with some of her girlfriends from college for a long weekend. I didn't think much of it at the time. She deserved a break, a chance to unwind. I even encouraged her to go, offering to take care of the kids and Gus. "Have fun," I said, kissing her goodbye at the airport. "Don't do anything I wouldn't do." She laughed a little too nervously, I realize now. "Don't worry," she said. "I'll be on my best behavior." As soon as she left, the doubts flooded in. Miami with her college friends. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I tried to distract myself, focusing on the kids, their schoolwork, their activities. But the unease persisted, nagging at me like a persistent cough. On Saturday morning, I decided to clean out Bronte's closet. I know, it's a violation of privacy. But I couldn't help myself. I needed to find something, anything, to ease my anxiety. I started with her shoes, then moved to her clothes. Nothing seemed out of place. Then I found it. Tucked away in the back of her closet, behind a pile of sweaters, was a small, velvet box. My heart pounded in my chest as I opened it. Inside was a diamond necklace, a beautiful, expensive piece of jewelry that I had never seen before. It definitely wasn't something she would buy herself with her own money. My mind raced. Who gave her this? It couldn't be a gift from her friends. It was too intimate, too personal. The only logical explanation was that it came from another man, a man she was having an affair with. I felt sick to my stomach. The room started to spin. I sank to the floor, clutching the necklace in my hand. How could she do this to me, to us, to our family? I spent the rest of the day in a daze, replaying every conversation, every interaction with Bronte over the past few months. Suddenly, everything made sense. The late nights, the secret phone calls, the new clothes, the girls' trip. It all pointed to one thing: she was cheating on me. When Bronte returned from Miami on Sunday evening, she seemed relaxed, refreshed. She hugged the kids, kissed me on the cheek, and asked about our weekend. I tried to act normal, to hide my pain and anger, but it was impossible. My face must have betrayed me. "What's wrong?" she asked, her eyes narrowing. "I know about the necklace," I said, my voice trembling. Her face paled. She didn't say anything for a moment, then she stammered. "What necklace?" "The one I found in your closet," I said, holding it up for her to see. She finally broke down, tears streaming down her face. "Okay, fine," she said. "It's true. I've been seeing someone else." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The woman I had loved and trusted for 15 years was admitting to having an affair. The pain was unbearable, a physical ache in my chest. "Who is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She hesitated, then said, "It's someone from work. His name is Finley." Finley. The name sounded vaguely familiar, then it hit me. Finley was Bronte's boss, the one she was always talking about, the one she had been spending so much time with lately. "Your boss," I said, my voice rising. "You're having an affair with your boss?" She nodded, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry, Alistair," she said. "I never meant for it to happen." "How long?" I asked. "A few months," she said. "It started as just drinks after work, then it just happened," I repeated, incredulous. "You just happened to sleep with your boss. You just happened to betray me and our family." She didn't have an answer. She just kept crying, begging for my forgiveness. But I couldn't forgive her. Not then, not ever. The trust was broken, shattered beyond repair. The image I had of Bronte, of our marriage, was gone, replaced by a cold, hard reality. She was a liar and a cheat. The next few weeks were a blur. We barely spoke except to argue. I moved into the guest room. The kids sensed something was wrong, but we tried to shield them from the truth as much as possible. I hired a lawyer. Bronte hired a lawyer. The divorce proceedings began. It was a messy, painful process, filled with accusations, recriminations, and endless paperwork. I learned more about Finley during the divorce. He was married too, with 2 kids of his own. He was a classic corporate climber, ambitious and ruthless. He saw Bronte as a stepping stone, a way to get ahead in the company. I confronted Finley at his office. I wanted to punch him, to scream at him, to make him feel the pain I was feeling. But I restrained myself. I knew that violence wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I told him exactly what I thought of him, calling him a selfish, spineless coward. He didn't say anything. He just stared at me, his face pale and drawn. I could see the guilt in his eyes, the realization that he had made a terrible mistake. As the divorce progressed, Bronte became increasingly desperate. She realized that she had made a mistake too, that she had thrown away a perfectly good marriage for a fleeting affair. She tried to win me back, showering me with apologies, promising to change. But it was too late. The damage was done. I could never trust her again. The love I had once felt for her had turned to resentment and anger. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. We divided our assets, sold the house, and went our separate ways. Bronte moved in with Finley, but their relationship didn't last long. He eventually left her for another woman, a younger, more attractive colleague. Karma, I suppose. I got custody of the kids, which was the most important thing to me. I knew that raising them on my own would be challenging, but I was determined to give them the best life possible. I moved into a smaller house, closer to their school. I focused on my work, my kids, and my own well-being. It wasn't easy. There were days when I felt overwhelmed, lonely, and bitter. But I persevered. I knew that I had to be strong for my children. One evening, a few years after the divorce, I was at a local bar with some friends. I saw Bronte sitting at a table in the corner alone. She looked older, tired, and sad. I almost felt sorry for her. She saw me too. Our eyes met for a moment, then she looked away. I could see the regret in her eyes, the realization that she had made a terrible mistake. I didn't approach her. I didn't say anything. I just turned back to my friends and continued my conversation. I had moved on with my life. She was a chapter in my past, a painful reminder of what I had lost. But I had also gained something, a newfound strength, a resilience I didn't know I possessed. I had survived the betrayal, the heartbreak, the divorce. I had emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to live a happy and fulfilling life for myself and for my children. That night, I went home and looked at my sleeping children. I realized that they were my world, my everything. I would do anything for them, protect them from any harm. And I knew that I had made the right decision, leaving Bronte and building a new life for us. I closed their door and went to my room. I looked at the photo of Bronte and me that I had kept. I took it and tore it into pieces. I put it in the trash. I was finally free. About a year later, my daughter, Alois, came home from school with a strange story. A new girl named Thea had joined her class. Thea was quiet and withdrawn, and Alois had tried to befriend her. One day, Thea confided in Alois that her mother was very sick and that they had moved to Denver to be closer to a specialist. Alois, being the kind and compassionate child she was, told me about Thea. Something about the story tugged at my heartstrings. I asked Alois for Thea's last name. She told me. It was Finley. My blood ran cold. Finley? Could it be the same Finley? The one Bronte had an affair with? I did some digging. It turned out to be true. Thea was Finley's daughter. And her mother, Finley's wife, was indeed very sick. She had been diagnosed with a rare form of cancer and was undergoing treatment at a local hospital. I felt a strange mix of emotions, shock, sadness, and a twinge of satisfaction. Was this karma? Was this the universe evening the score? I decided to do something. I knew what it was like to go through a difficult time, to feel alone and helpless. I couldn't stand by and watch Thea and her family suffer. I contacted Finley. I told him that I knew about his wife's illness and that I wanted to help. I offered to pay for some of their medical expenses, anonymously, of course. I didn't want Bronte to know. I didn't want any credit for it. Finley was hesitant at first. He was ashamed of what he had done, of the pain he had caused. But he was also desperate. He knew that he couldn't afford to pay for all of his wife's treatment. He eventually accepted my offer with tears in his eyes. I helped them for several months, paying for their medical bills, their groceries, their rent. I never met Thea or her mother. I just wanted to do something good to ease their suffering. One day, Alois came home from school with some news. Thea's mother had passed away. She had lost her battle with cancer. I felt a pang of sadness for Thea and her family. I knew what it was like to lose a parent. It was a pain that never really went away. I decided to attend the funeral to pay my respects. I stood in the back of the chapel, unnoticed, as Thea and Finley said goodbye to their wife and mother. I saw Bronte there too. She looked even more worn and haggard than the last time I had seen her. She stood apart from the others, alone, isolated. I wondered if she felt any remorse for what she had done, for the pain she had caused. After the service, as people were leaving, Thea approached me. She recognized me from Alois's stories. She thanked me for being so kind to her and her family. "I don't know why you helped us," she said, "but I'm so grateful. You saved us." I just smiled and said, "You're welcome." As I walked away, I realized that I had finally found peace. I had forgiven Bronte, not for her sake, but for my own. I had let go of the anger and resentment that had consumed me for so long. I had learned that life was too short to hold grudges, that forgiveness was the key to healing. And I had discovered that even in the darkest of times, there was always hope, always the possibility of redemption. I remarried a few years later. Her name is Meredith, and she's everything I ever wanted in a partner: kind, compassionate, and loyal. We have a blended family now with my 2 kids and her one. It's not always easy, but it's filled with love and laughter. Bronte, on the other hand, never remarried. She still works at the same company, but she's no longer in a management position. Finley's career took a nosedive after his wife's death. He's now working as a consultant, struggling to make ends meet. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Bronte hadn't cheated on me. Would we still be together? Would we still be living in that house with the white picket fence? Would we still be happy? I don't know the answer. But I do know that everything happens for a reason. And I believe that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, with the people I'm supposed to be with. I learned a lot from my experience with Bronte. I learned about betrayal, heartbreak, and forgiveness. But most importantly, I learned about myself. I learned that I was stronger than I thought, more resilient than I imagined. And I learned that I deserve to be happy, that I deserve to be loved. So, if you're reading this and you're going through a similar situation, know that you're not alone. Know that it's okay to feel angry, hurt, and confused. But also know that it's possible to heal, to forgive, and to move on with your life. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Trust me. I've been there, and remember, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be loved. Don't settle for anything less. In summary, my life took an unexpected turn when I discovered my wife, Bronte, was having an affair with her boss, Finley. The discovery shattered my world, leading to a painful divorce and a period of intense emotional turmoil. However, the story takes a surprising twist when I find myself helping Finley and his family during his wife's battle with cancer, demonstrating the power of forgiveness. I eventually remarried and found happiness. It's a story of betrayal, forgiveness, and the resilience of the human spirit, offering hope and encouragement to those facing similar challenges. Remember, healing is possible and you deserve happiness. Stay strong.